My name is ESO and today we're doing a deep dive into Starfield's character creation because there are a bunch of details that you may have missed during the live presentation. We're going to be pausing and going over all of the backgrounds, all of the traits and how they affect your character, so when you build it you've got some kind of a concept and idea how the game is going to work. There's also going to be character traits and backstories that affect in-game dialogues and real sort of roleplay game elements that they're bringing back into Starfield, which I'm so excited for. We're also going to be going over all the traits and the pros and cons of them and how they may affect the gameplay, as well as crafting and how the perks and skills work and how you level up and so on. There's so many things to go over. This is just one of many deep dive videos, so subscribe for all of them. Let's begin. So the first thing we can note about character creation is a story element. And that's the fact you have an employee number down here on the bottom left. The employee number also seems to stay the same despite you changing your character's shape and personality. And you're employed by a company called Nautilus, and we know that they're one of the companies that are a faction in the game and they produce space components for ships and weapons and so on. And you can see that because there's a Nautilus badge on your spacesuit. Now, we're not fully sure if you can start your character with another faction. We know that you can choose different traits that affect which faction you belong to, as I'll get onto in a moment. On the top tabs here you can see biometric ID, which is basically just you creating your character and deciding what you want to look like. Then we have body, face, background, which is where your background story actually affects the gameplay, friendship with different factions that you're going to meet in the game, as I'll show you in a moment, and also 0 out of 3 traits, which we'll talk about later. And then down here on the bottom left, it also says, note biometric customizations can change later by visiting a genetics facility, meaning however you decide to make your character, you can actually still change it later. You're not locked in for the entire game like you were on Skyrim till a later update when they added the Rift and Face Changer. Next we go over to the body tab and we get a look at the different sort of shapes you can turn your character into, which is honestly one of the most thorough, realistic character creations I've actually seen in a lot of games. Usually it's very much fantasized, over-exaggerated assets and so on. This one, you can actually make a real looking person with all body types represented, and that genuinely impressed me. Firstly, at the top here we have a draggable filter where we can change different elements of our body to be either heavy or thin, not fat, or even muscular. And it seems that you can literally move this dot anywhere within these parameters and it will just completely morph your body to whatever shape you want it to be to represent yourself or whatever character you're making. Interestingly, the clothes also adapt and change around your body when you make those decisions. And your toenails are painted, look at that. We obviously also have the body type, and I don't know if that includes different body formats that you can make thinner, thicker, or more muscular, or if they're just starting frames. They weren't scrolled over, so we don't know. Next we have walk style, and only one walk style was actually shown, but it's going to be interesting that there are different walk styles in the game, and that's going to be something that they can change. We also obviously have skin tone, and just by looking at the different characters and NPCs that they showed us in the game, there are a lot of different skin tones and they all look very realistic. It's in fact just the character creation overall is a massive improvement over any other Bethesda game we've seen, especially over Fallout 76, which was only a few years ago. So character creation, realistic faces have just come a long way, which is incredible to see because all of the stuff we look at now is also going to give you an idea of what the Elder Scrolls 6 could look like. And it's going in the right direction. Next we go over to the face tab, and as you can see there are a bunch of different face options. We have a slider on the left here which indicates that there are tons of different options that we can change on our face, including skin tone, head shapes, hair colors, eyes, probably nose, mouth, and everything else that you're familiar with from a Bethesda game. And also I'd like to say the hair sort of texture actually looks pretty decent compared to what we saw in Skyrim, Fallout 76. This is a big improvement, especially like the pores and blemishes on the skin and the sort of luminosity of the skin and the different tones within your skin is very realistic and very well represented here. We also get a quick look at hair colors as well, and I'm sure now we've recently made a mod list for Skyrim and that game is over 10 years old now. And even then, with all the modding community working on it, you can make such a beautiful character these days using mods. So if you think this isn't good enough, I guarantee within the first month or so, people are going to mod the game and make even more beautiful textures. So if this isn't good enough for you, just bear that in mind. Next, we get a look at the background tab, and this is where it gets very interesting. Firstly, we obviously see ourselves in a full spacesuit from this specific faction, and you can see they have a very sort of hard plated helmet, and it looks like where we start the game is actually mining based on some gameplay we see in the gameplay reveal, which I'll talk more about in a moment. So in the background tab, we can see a bunch of different preset backgrounds. Now you can choose a preset background like you could in The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, or you can customize your own and choose your own sort of background slots. So for example, here we have the combat medic. Leave it to human beings to fight over something as infinite as outer space. That's where you come in. You've never been afraid to take on the enemy, but you'd much rather take care of your friends. And we also saw in the gameplay that there are conversations based on your backgrounds, and you have like, kind of like in Cyberpunk, like a background choice that you can interject into a conversation because you're a combat medic, you've got history in that. So there are dialogue options, I believe, that reflect that. I don't know how many there'll be, but that might be an option. So the combat medic has some starting skills. These are kind of like starting skills for different races in Skyrim. Apart from here, you can only play a human. So we have the pistol certification, which just makes pistols do a flat 10% more damage. And bear in mind, these are starting skills. You can get these later, but it's going to cost you skill points to get these. And I'll show you that you can get these later. So as you can see in the combat perk skill tree, you will be unlocking, for example, this pistol perk as you play the game. So these aren't things that you can only get if you choose that starting class or character backstory. You can unlock these just through gameplay, so they don't like stick you with one character build and you're just stuck with those attributes even if you decide to play the game a different way later. You can come back and pick these. So don't purely pick something just based on the starting perks that you'll have access to early on. Obviously it helps min-max your character, but it's not essential. So medicine allows you to heal 10% more health, which is obviously really beneficial, especially starting out. Your medkits are just more effective. Then we have weightlifting, increased total carrying capacity by 10 kilograms. Now, that is going to be very useful when you're just adventuring around, exploring the environment, but obviously you also have a spaceship to transport a ton of different material goods that you'll be harvesting from these different planets. But extra carrier capacity is always useful in a game like this, in any Bethesda roleplay game. We also have another very interesting one, which is Chef. While the unrefined masses scoffed down chunks by the shipload, you catered to those with a more discerning palate in your kitchen. Countless alien species became a true culinary masterpiece. And your starting skills are gastronomy. You can craft specialty food, drinks, and research additional recipes at the research lab. Now that means it unlocks additional food recipes that you can research how to craft, because the crafting in Starfield is also new. You can't just craft things with the right ingredients. Say for example you want to make a sweet roll, for example, you'd first have to research how you make a sweet roll, and then you can understand what ingredients you need to craft it, and you can start crafting as many as you want. But you can only research one thing at a time, and you have to research things before you can craft them. This is the research laboratory screen just here, and you can see there's like several categories: pharmaceutical, food and drink, outpost development, equipment, and weaponry. And you can see next to these it says available projects, and there's currently 19 that you can research. So you can see here under equipment there are 6 available projects, but currently we are researching a project for helmet mods, which is not yet unlocked, meaning we can't actually unlock anything else yet. However, under food and drink, there's no research in progress. So if we click on this, we can then go ahead and unlock one of these food and drink recipes that we don't know yet. By these recipes, locations you can unlock them, or even the perks as well will give you access to more advanced recipes as you go. Next we have dueling. Melee weapons do 10% more damage. Didn't expect that from a chef, but it's pretty damn good. And that is obviously a big 10% damage increase to melee weapons, which is always going to be handy. And then we have Wellness, immediately gain 30 points of health, which is obviously very helpful. We don't know what the max health is yet in the game, but 30 points is sizable. Then we have the Cyber Runner. From Neon to New Atlantis, the Megacorps stand as monuments to power, prestige and profit. You worked for both and for and against them, on and inside and out, often sacrificing conscience for credits. And once again you have 10% more damage with pistols. Security, you can attempt to hack advanced locks, and 2 auto attempts can be banked. Now this is the new lockpicking mechanic that we saw in the gameplay later on, which I'll have on screen just here. As you can see, it's kind of like a new lockpicking system that's a lot more cyber based, almost like hacking, but clearly lockpicking. There might be another minigame for hacking, which we didn't see, but I kind of fully expect. We also have Persuasion. Gain an increased chance of success on speech challenges. There is a whole new persuasion system and talking, which Bethesda actually elaborated to more in their interview when they said it's a very natural sort of persuasion mini-game system, akin to kind of like Oblivion, but a lot more advanced than that, where it just feels organic, like you're actually having a conversation with someone, apparently, though we've not seen that yet. But that is the Cyber Runner. Then we have the Cyberneticist. I don't know how you pronounce that, I'm dyslexic. Robots, mere toys, neuroamps, good for parlor tricks. The Colony War have made implants and upgrades available to veterans, but you once saw the greater future, humans and mechs as one. So implants have been confirmed. As in Cyberpunk, you can put cybernetics into your body. I don't know how that's going to affect your appearance, if at all yet. Medicine packs heal 10% more. Robotics, you deal 10% more damage to robots and turrets. Lasers. Laser weapons do 10% more damage. And just like in Fallout, you've kind of got similar weapon categories. You've got like laser-based weapons, physical weapons like ballistic fire, and also pistols. Then we have the Diplomats. The wars are over. Peace now reigns the settlement systems, but only because there are those quietly fighting to keep it. Because of you, agreements were signed, words were heeded, lives were spared. So you get persuasion, diplomacy. You can force a target NPC at or below your level to stop fighting for a while. Will you be able to play through the entirety of Starfield without killing anyone? Potentially. Bargaining. Buy items for 5% less and sell for 10% more. Now, since the game world is so vast with over 1,000 like visitable planets and probably different merchants and places to dock to sell your goods, I wouldn't be surprised if you can buy things from one planet and sell them for more on another planet where that solar system has more of a scarce resource, since fuel, traveling and distance are factors in this game. And I know that's something that Todd Howard wanted to do in previous games, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it. We can just roleplay a traveling merchant, for example, would be pretty cool. And also with the diplomat background, that was specifically mentioned during the gameplay as an NPC actually said, "Oh, I heard you're quite a diplomat." So I'm hoping that these backgrounds actually mean more than just your starting skills. Time will tell.
It says here you spent some time as a diplomat. Having a way with words might prove useful.
So now we have the different trait options, which are very interesting. Currently we have 0 out of 3 traits, and we can optionally choose 3 traits. We can choose 1 trait or 2 or all 3. But these have a pro and a con, so you may not want to choose them, but they are very interesting. So let's go ahead and read some of these together. So we have Introvert. You really need your alone time. You have more endurance when adventuring alone, but less when adventuring with other human companions. Interesting note on human companions, meaning we already know that you have your droid follower, and he can carry a lot of things. He has lots of utility with him as well, as I broke down in a previous video. And also, we might be able to get like alien pets or dogs or other things. We have no idea. There are other droids we've seen moving around though, so there will be other followers. But with human companions, you will have less endurance while they're adventuring with you. And it cannot be combined with the extrovert trait, which they may counteract or cancel each other out, for example. Now, we don't actually know what endurance does, but it's most likely stamina. And if you are going for a solo build or a solo melee build, having extra endurance may be beneficial. You can see just here, when he chose introvert, extrovert was crossed out. The next one is kid stuff. Your parents are alive and well, and you can visit them at their home. I suppose that means the pro is that you can go and visit your parents and they have a house that you can rest in and sleep in and store your stuff in early on in the game. But the con is that 10% of all the money you earn is deducted automatically and sent to them. That seems like a massive drawback. I have no idea why you would ever want to pick that. Or maybe they just have a house at a very expensive neighborhood. I don't know. This seems like a really bad trait though. Neon Street Rat. You grew up on the main streets of Neon. You gain access to the special dialogue options. There you go. Our background traits actually unlock unique dialogue options, which I absolutely love. It's a proper roleplay D&D kind of thing. Love that so much. And better rewards as well from some missions on Neon, since that's where you grew up on the streets. But the drawback, crime bounty by other factions, is greatly increased. Can't be combined with any other faction allegiance trait. So that means, I guess, that anytime you're committing crimes by other factions, you're going to get a big increase on that compared to not having this trait. But the payoffs and rewards are better, so is it worth the risk? Interesting. Raised Universal. So this is another background trait. You grew up as a member of the Sanctum Universum. You gain a significant discount at the church store? The church store? So some of these factions have unique faction stores where you can buy spaceship parts, weapon parts, mods for your weapons, also customization for armor and equipment as well. So the drawback though is that you get access to the church store and you get a discount, but you lose access completely to the Enlightened store, probably because it's like an enemy faction, and you cannot combine it with the other religion trait. So these are two religions that are like fighting against each other. You know, I would rather not have a discount in one if I'm going to completely lose access to the other store. That seems like a massive trade-off unless I'm completely role-playing a character. So I don't think I'd choose that. Then we have the Serpent's Embrace. You grew up worshipping the Great Serpent. Grav jumping provides a temporary boost to health and endurance, but health and endurance are lowered if you don't continue jumping regularly. Like an addiction. Can't be combined with any other religion trait. That is a really weird one. Space. Your body has become accumulated to space. Health and endurance are increased when you're in space, but decreased on the surface. Can't be combined with terra firma. Terra firma is like the opposite way around. Now the interesting thing about this is that when you're in space, you're usually, I assume, in a spaceship. Most of the time I'd say you're probably going to be on a planet. Therefore, terra firma may actually be a good perk for the sacrifice. But your ship can get invaded and you can board other people's ships, so do bear that in mind. Starter home, very intriguing one. You own a small house on a peaceful little moon, but it comes with a 50,000 credit mortgage with Gal Bank. So a mortgage, if you're young, basically means you own the money to a bank and you have to pay like a monthly interest rate to them on your 50,000 credit mortgage. And yes, you start with a small house, but you also start with a debt, which is interesting because I've seen some of the prices for these spaceship parts, which I'll cover in a future video. Subscribe for that. And you spend a lot of money, a lot of credits on building your ship and your space station and so on. So that might be a lot of money to spend at the start of the game though, which is quite a bad and good thing because you start with a house on a small moon. Can you even reach it? I don't know. So next we have the skill system and perks, and I actually have figured out exactly how this works. So starting out, you have 5 different sort of overarching skill trees, being physical, social, combat, science, and tech. You can see on the bottom left just here, we currently have 1 skill point. As you level up, gain experience, you will unlock more skill points, obviously. However, you cannot actually just go ahead and buy all of these different perks. You actually have to unlock them. So just here, for example, you can see he's hovering over heavy weapon certification, which is one of the perks. Now currently he has a rank 3 out of 4 on this particular perk. If he unlocks the next rank, he'll get 30 damage resistance while aiming down sights with a heavy weapon. However, before he can unlock the 4th rank of this perk, he needs to complete the challenge, which says kill 250 enemies with heavy weapons. Currently 0 out of 250. So before you can unlock any of these perks, you must first complete a challenge attached to it. So the gameplay basically works as you're playing. You're going to be doing the thing that you want to level up, and as you're doing that thing, you'll be achieving the challenge to unlock the perk and gain a boost in that particular stat. For example, kill 250 enemies with ballistic weapons. Currently that challenge is completed, so we can now level up the rank, which is 3 out of 4. You can see here he opens it up, and you can see rank 1 did 10% more damage with ballistic weapons, and rank 2 did 20%, rank 3 did 30%, and then rank 4, which is now available because we've done the challenge, will increase the range by another 30% as well, which is huge benefit. And now we can use that one skill point and now it says skill has been maxed out, and also the emblems changed as well. So you can see just here on the social tree, this is basically how it's going to work when you're leveling up in Starfield. You'll be first completing the challenges to unlock the perks you want, and then you'll need to level up and obtain skill points to then spend on these different perks. And I mean, you can kind of look at some of these perks and maybe figure out what they are, but they do hover over a few combat skills which you can take a closer look at. So starting out, we have targeting. Unlock, greatly increase accuracy and range when shooting without aiming. So just sort of hip firing and getting accurate shots. And this is 2 out of 4. And you need to kill 125 enemies without aiming to unlock that target. Then we have sniper certification, which makes your scoped weapons steadier and have less sway. And currently we have no perks invested in that skill, which is why it's black and white and grayed out. Then we have rapid reloading. Gain a chance to reload your weapon twice as fast as normal. Currently 3 out of 4. Now that's a chance. So the more you reload your weapon, reload 150 empty magazines, the faster you unlock this particular skill. I don't know how good it is though, because it really depends on the chance that you get to quick reload. And then we have heavy weapon certification, which gains 30 damage resistance while aiming down the sights with a heavy weapon. Means you can just stand there and tank while shooting away. And then obviously we have ballistics, which increases the range by 30% at rank 4, but the first 3 ranks will actually increase the damage by 30%, which is huge. And the same can be said for melee damage, handgun damage. Oh, these must be laser weapons actually. Another perk you'll also notice when it comes to actually building your own ship, which I want to share with you guys, is the Starship Design perk. And as you can see, these Nova Lander portfors require the Starship Design perk. And so does this Mauler 104 large cannon as well. Now, this Starship Design perk works exactly the same as the other perks, which is just going to be like a tiered perk where you can unlock the different skill levels to unlock more advanced weaponry, landing gears, to accommodate larger ships as you progress your skill in shipbuilding. Now, if you're interested in shipbuilding and base building, the next deep dive video is going to delve into all of the little details regarding how you build your ship, how you have crew and what their roles are, and the skills that are related to that, and how much building a ship actually will cost you, and how all these components fit together, and what kind of design elements you can actually do to build your ship, and also flying your ship in space battles as well. That's what I'm going to cover in the next episode, which is linked down below in the description, so you can subscribe for that before it comes out, and for lots of other Starfield deep dive videos that I'm going to be covering here on the channel. So thank you for watching, like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you there.